It's that time of year when we focus on allergies and asthma. Here's why. Did you know that an estimated 15 million Americans live with food allergies, including 5.9 million children under the age of 18? That's 1 in 13 children, or roughly 2 in every classroom. So joining me today to discuss allergies are Dr. Lakiea Wright, an allergist, immunologist, and the medical director of U.S. Clinical Affairs within the Immunodiagnostics Division of Thermo Fisher Scientific. Also joining us, Maria Diora, a realtor and mother from Livermore, California. And we have a superstar right next to her, her son Frankie, who suffers from food allergies. Good morning to all of you.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Hi, Frankie.
Hi.
How are you?
Good.
Ever been on TV?
No.
No? Doctor, I got to start with you because did you hear those statistics?
Yes.
I mean, it's alarming. This is really a public concern.
Yes, we see food allergy rising, and food allergy is really your immune system going haywire in reaction to a food exposure. In the U.S., we have about 2 to 5% of adults with food allergies, and that number is even higher in children, about 8%. And every 3 minutes, a food reaction sends someone to the ER.
And those moments can be really frightening for a parent. Maria, can you talk about what happened? When did you find out Frankie was allergic to something?
When he was about 18 months old, and I gave him pancakes for the first time.
Pancakes. Okay, what he was loving it, obviously.
Oh yeah, well, it didn't.
At that moment.
At that moment.
And then?
And then his eyes started watering, and he started coughing, and I thought, what's going on? And he had the hives all around his mouth, and his eyes started swelling up, and so I knew something was going on.
What'd you do?
I gave him a bath because I thought something was on his skin that I could wash off.
And then obviously.
And then it didn't really make it stop, and so then I realized, okay, there's something else. I took him to the doctor about suspected food allergies.
All right, did you finally take him to an allergist?
I did take him to an allergist probably a week or 2 later, and had testing done, and she tested him for more of the more common things to find out what it was.
Okay, let's see if, Frankie, what are you allergic to? Do you know?
Peanut, tree nuts, egg, dairy, and sesame.
Oh, wow, that's quite a bit. So peanuts, tree nuts, milk, eggs, and sesame. So, Mom, you hear this, and you're probably thinking, wow, a lot of changes have to be occurring now in the house, right?
A lot of changes.
Challenging.
Yeah, just had to stick to the basic food, a piece of meat that's cooked and steamed vegetables, and cut out all of the extra stuff. There's no more pancakes. Wow. For sure.
Is this the reaction you get, Dr. Wright, from parents? It just happens one day and all of a sudden, shazam, we have to do a 180 in our life.
Yes, this story is very common, and often it can be scary for the child and the parents. And so it's really important to have a healthcare provider that you can talk to about the symptoms, feel comfortable asking questions, and you can really trust in their advice.
And it's a good thing she went to an allergist because she honed down exactly what he was allergic to. I want to talk about peanuts. Wow, how prevalent are peanut allergies today?
So we see it increasing, and it's estimated that about 2.5% of kids have actually a peanut allergy, and only 20% would outgrow it. And while there's no cure for peanut allergy, there are treatments that would likely come to market in the next year or 2.
And Frankie mentioned sesame, and I was reading here that there's a huge push to add sesame as an allergen in food labeling. It's occurring more as well.
Yes, we see sesame as an emerging allergen, and it's more common now, so that's why it's so important to keep people safe who have sesame allergy to actually have it clearly labeled.
So what would you suggest parents do if they suspect they have an allergy or their child has an allergy? What's protocol?
Yes, so if you think that you have an allergy, it's really important to discuss the symptoms with your healthcare provider. Those symptoms, just like Frankie, they include things like rash, typically hives. You can have gut symptoms like vomiting, crampy abdominal pain, even diarrhea. And some people have very severe symptoms like difficulty breathing, wheezing, or feeling their throat is closing.
Is there a test that's done? Is it a blood test that patients do?
Yes, there is. So once you discuss this with your physician, based on your clinical history, they can decide on the appropriate testing. It's called immunoglobulin IgE testing, also known as IgE testing. And IgE is what your body makes in response to an allergen. And this testing really helps aid in the diagnosis along with the clinical history. It aids in the diagnosis of food allergy.
Is it the test that Frankie got?
He
Maria?
did eventually, yeah, he'd had that test.
And the results were immediate, and this is what they told you, those 5 things that you had to eliminate from him. All right, doctor, there's something else called component testing. What is that, and why is that important to do as well as the blood test that Maria did?
Yes, so it's really important to do component testing if you have a food allergy, because what component testing does is it's looking at the different parts of the allergen, and along with the clinical history and exam, it can really help the physician and also help the parent understand what's the likelihood of having a systemic reaction, also known as a reaction that occurs throughout your body, like anaphylaxis. It could also help decide, you know, if you have a milk or egg allergy, sometimes you can have, like Frankie, baked milk or baked egg, and so this testing would help better understand if it's appropriate.
Oh, that's
for you to have
fantastic.
that.
And then he can incorporate a little bit more into his diet.
Yes.
So you're making him baked eggs, and he's okay with that.
Yep.
Quick question, is there any reason to get retested?
Yes, definitely. So you can outgrow allergies, and so you want to get tested initially, but then also you want to continue to get tested because it can help us better understand if you are possibly outgrowing it. If it is likely that you're outgrowing an allergy, there is a thing called the oral food challenge where you can actually ingest the food under physician supervision to then get cleared of the allergy. So retesting is very important.
That's fantastic. You know, there's just so many more options today. I'm glad you're here creating that awareness because a lot of people are not aware of it. What would you tell parents out there who maybe suspect their child has an allergy or maybe they just found out?
If you suspect, you should get tested because you never know, the next next reaction could be worse than the first little minor one.
Doctor, any final thoughts?
Yes, so there is testing available. The blood testing is convenient. Any healthcare provider can order it. It aids the provider in providing a diagnosis of allergy. And we have more information at allergyinsider.com.
Tell me that website one more time.
allergyinsider.com.
Thank you so much for the information, for the awareness. I do appreciate it. Maria, thank you so much for coming
Thank you.
from California to give us this fabulous story. Frankie, I also hear you love a vegetable, lots of vegetables. What's your favorite?
Broccoli.
Mine too! Give me 5. You're a cutie patootie. Thank you, Frankie, for coming. Of course, thank you for joining us today. And if you'd like more information, go to our website, thebalancingAct.com.